After 1 year without God, former pastor Ryan Bell no longer believes. So I got a video here. I found a video on it. So let's get to it. It's a pretty good video. So here we go.
I decided to take this year and explore the worldview of atheism and the many features of non-theist way of looking at the world.
After purposely spending a year without God, former Seventh-day Adventist leader Ryan Bell has come to the conclusion that he is no longer a believer. At the start of his spiritual experiment, he said, "I will not pray, read the Bible for inspiration, refer to God as the cause of things, or hope that God might intervene and change my own or someone else's circumstances." He also planned to spend time reading atheist writings and becoming involved in atheist communities. Bell revealed recently on NPR that throughout the duration of his time away from religion, he was unable to find a compelling argument that supported his previous belief system.
I've looked at the majority of the arguments that I've been able to find for the existence of God, and on the question of God's existence or not, I have to say I don't find there to be a convincing case in my view.
He noted that at his core, however, he hasn't changed at all. He still seeks out ways to ensure there's justice in the world and that opportunities are spread evenly. What he's no longer in search of is certainty. Bell now works for an organization that assists the homeless.
So there you have it.
Nice.
Really good story. And, you know, we're not trying to be biased here on this situation or what happened here, but that's what many of us have came to realize. Like I grew up in Catholicism, and yeah, I read the Bible, of course, a couple times, and that's what made me an atheist. It was after I read it, I'm just like, it's just bullshit, dude. You know, I looked at humanity, I looked at the atrocities that were committed by religion, and I'm just like, you know what, this is just bullshit. Fuck this, dude. I'm gonna live my life the way.
Pol Pot.
Can you let me finish my fucking?
Pol Pot.
TJ, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Stalin.
I seriously fucking hate you. Seriously. Oh, seriously, you interrupt me all the time, you motherfucker. But no, there's a couple NPR questions I want to go over. The interview questions.
You also forgot about Mao.
Paul, seriously, you're going to fucking feed off this motherfucker here?
Hitler.
Fuck you. No, but seriously, no, on a question that he actually was...
Rouge?
Guys, seriously, on a question that he was asked by NPR was, you also said that you're still the same person deep down that I was before. What was valuable about the past year? Would you do it again? And his answer was, I would definitely do it again, and I'll go a step further. I think others should do it too. Anytime, and this is a good quote here, anytime you step outside your comfort zone, you will learn important things about yourself and the world. I've learned that atheists are not the miserable nihilists that many Christians think they are. And I think that quote right there he said is very important, is that he realized, being a fundamentalist Christian or a devout Christian, is that the quote, anytime you step outside your comfort zone, you will learn important things about yourself and the world. I think that's true. I mean, like I realized it with my ex-wife here, where she stepped out of her comfort zone. She was more peaceful, more happy when she was outside the box, the comfort zone of religion. Religion was just a crutch for her in the long run. Okay, so she experienced stuff and she was happy. She lived her life. She was just want to be an open person and be open about her ideas, and she was, until her parents got a hold of her and grabbed her back into that sort of Christian comfort zone. And yeah, she was oppressed, and she was just like, she was treated like she was like demonic being, and it's pretty sad. It's pretty fucking sad that we got to deal with this type of shit in society, or that parents indoctrinate or brainwash their children into this bullshit, that you're not allowed to question your fucking religion. I think that's fucking immoral in my viewpoint. I think it's really fucking bad.
Yeah, and Aaron Ra, I remember one time, or at least a few times I've heard him say on that, you have to be conditioned to think like that.
Absolutely.
To where just doubt is like hell-worthy, or like there's something horrible if you just doubt.
I had a video called, or it was actually a really popular video, the one HBO's Questioning Darwin, the creationists on there, my responses to them. And there was the one lady that was homeschooling her kids, and she's like, yeah, we have to really prepare our one kid because he's really into science. So we're like really preparing him to understand that people are not going to be the same when he gets out of the house. And like, of course you have to fucking pull that game. Like you're trying to convince people of absolute bullshit. Like, common sense shit.
It's a control factor.
Like what? Here's the question. All right. Let's say as a creationist, you teach your kids like science is lying to you, that the world is not that old, and stars and galaxies and all that apparently are also, I don't know, that has to be fake because like that's science.
Created with age.
Yeah, all this crazy bullshit. Of course you have to start from the perspective of like, gotta shield my kid from what would a scientist gain from telling you what you don't want to hear? You understand? Like,
TJ,
your soul, motherfucker. Your soul. He's stealing your soul.
Telling you that that the Earth is 4 point whatever billion years old doesn't help any fucking body. Nobody advances from that. Like that, but telling people the Earth is 6,000 years old, the Bible is right, and I'm selling you some bullshit, and come to my fucking Ark Park.
TJ, it boils down to a certain perspective, guys. We need to really let people speak here. Is when it boils down to this, and I'll let Paul and Drew go, and Steve, of course. Steve, I want to have him go next because I know.
So you're pretty much talking to me.
No, you guys. Is that when it comes to raising a child? This is my perspective on this. Is you need to teach people or teach your children how to think, not what to think. You don't teach them what they should fucking believe in. That's the boiling point for me, is like when they teach their kids, and I've experienced this with my stepkids, is like they were teaching them like God this, Jesus this, eternal damnation, fuck this shit, you're a bad person, you're evil, you're wicked. No, absolutely not. And this is what the fuck I'm against. And I think this is a perfect story with this guy Ryan Bell here. He's like, listen, I looked at all the stock arguments, and I couldn't find anything that was credible to religion or Christianity. I couldn't find anything. I think I live my life better as a secular humanist or atheist or whatever he defines himself as. I think he said, fuck this shit, I'm done with it. And you know what? I looked at everything, and I'm good. So, Steve, go ahead. What do you guys say?
Well, I just want to say this is one of my favorite recent like atheism related stories. This guy is one of my heroes now because, and I want to make it clear that I explain why he is one of my heroes, because it's not because he decided he didn't believe at the end of it. It's the fact that he did it in the first place. Whether he got to the end of his year without God and he decided he didn't believe anymore, or if he decided he did believe, that is almost beside the point to me. The fact that he took the trouble to actually do it means a lot to me, because I know in my own experience as someone who does videos on YouTube, and a lot of them are about atheism, and I talk to religious people from an atheist point of view, the worst part about that, and there's so many wonderful parts about that and really rewarding things that you get to experience if you do that. But the worst part is how many Christians, mostly Christians, because I don't usually, they're the majority of who I talk to, how many of them will call you a liar to your face while smiling at you and claiming that they love you. And the way that they do it, they don't say that you're a liar, but they always go to the Bible and they always say, oh, the fool has said in his heart there is no God. Or they'll say, oh, you suppress the truth in unrighteousness. There are scripture verses that tell them that atheists are lying when they say that they don't believe in God. And they will believe their scripture more than they will believe you. And it doesn't matter how you plead with them, how earnest you are, how much you say, no, seriously, I'm not pretending not to believe. I seriously don't think there's a God. And I've thought about this, and I have some really good reasons why I don't think there's a God. You are wasting your breath. They refuse to believe it. They're basically calling you a liar. And they refuse to even entertain the possibility that your way of thinking might be right, that you might be telling the truth, and that you might know better what's in your mind than they do, or whoever anonymous person wrote their book. So the fact that this guy was even willing to do this means a lot to me, and I really hope that other people take his example and will at least show people who aren't believers in their faith at least the minimum amount of respect, to not just assume that they're lying when they say they don't hold the same faith that you do.
As our guest, I'd like to ask you a quick question. Like, it seems like, okay, he tried to live without God and found that to be like okay, but it's not like he said he was gonna study the arguments in favor of atheism with an open mind or something like that. He just basically said, like, I'm just not gonna pray I'm not trying to downplay it, but like let's say he's like, okay, if I lose my keys, I'm just gonna look for them. I'm not just gonna pray about it and then look for them. Okay, like you know, there are certain things that he did in order to come to his conclusion that are still not very sound as far as skepticism goes.
No, but you know, one of the things he said in his interview in that article that Joe sent us all was he did say one of the reasons why, one of the things that sort of led him to a point of disbelief was he realized that God was an unnecessary complication. And I mean, and that's just, I mean, that's Occam's razor. That's, you know, that's a principle that is valuable in science and in reason. If you don't need to assume something is true in order to account for whatever you're studying, don't assume that it's true. Don't make an explanation more complicated than it needs to be. And, you know, that's a big thing for me too. I mean, that's something that I tell Christians when they say, how can you not believe in God? Or, you know, or they try to straw man your argument and say, well, why are you angry at God, or why do you hate God? And that's one of the things I say to people sometimes is I don't hate God. I'm not angry at him. I'm not in rebellion against him. I just believe that it's not necessary to assume that he's there in order to explain anything. Yeah. And I don't see any evidence compelling me to believe in him, so I don't believe.
Steve,
why don't you believe in Santa Claus?
Steve, what God are you talking about? I'm just confused here. As exactly, being an atheist, what God are you talking about? Yeah. So what God?
Exactly. Well, because well, that's another thing I tell people. I say, even if you can convince me, if you can give me some philosophical argument that will somehow, you know, persuade me that God exists, you've still got a long way to go before you convince me that you know anything about that God, and that absolutely, you know, your religion's holy book is the thing I should be reading to learn about him. So yeah, absolutely.
One other question in this NPR interview I want to go over, and I want to get Drew in here and Paul, is the question on NPR to Ryan Bell here was this: after a year, what do you think about the priorities and actions of the atheist movement in the United States? His answer was, on the whole, I love the no holds bar search for truth. I think that's prevalent. I think we can all agree to that we do search for truth. We don't claim truth, but we do search for it. And he also goes on saying, I love the honesty and clarity of speech that is so often lacking in religious circles, where everything is couched in metaphor or innuendo. I think that's a great fucking statement by him. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, we're here. We're like, we don't claim truth. We don't claim absolutes. We don't claim this. We just want to live a better life without religion. We don't want to be stuck in a corner where we have to believe such bullshit, which is not evident. We shouldn't. We shouldn't be feared into something that we shouldn't have to fear. And I think that's basically what he was getting at there with that statement. So, Drew.
Yeah, I was... Steve pretty much already hit the nail on the head there. I was when he first started talking, I was thinking, as soon as I heard about this and I had read the article, I was thinking, like, you know, all the times we've told theists, hey man, if you would just sit down and honestly examine the evidence against your position, and this is what happens when you actually do that. At least, and I will sound biased, but fuck that, I'm right. This is what happens when you sit down and you just look over the fucking information. I mean, it's not like that complicated. And that was one of the things, like when TJ was saying that he didn't think the guy did a whole lot of like skeptical things. From what I read in there, I thought it was that he dropped like the praying and all that kind of stuff and actually looked at arguments. Is that not right?
From what I understood, from what I read, which was not much, I did not have time. I've been very pressed for time. Yeah, I know but from what I understood was that he just stopped looking to God for like answers to certain things, and maybe that means being more skeptical or whatever for a year. And sure, you're going to look at things more skeptically if you're ignoring God or whatever, but at the same time you have to consider what kind of people are willing to just ignore God for a year. Like certainly nobody in the fucking Bible. You know, like when God talks to you, you cannot ignore it type shit. Like, I don't know, man. It's a good story, and it is in a positive, correct, like the right direction.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's like for all maybe the right reasons.
But also, I'm sorry, Joe, if I can just real quick.
Go ahead.
Another thing was this was over the course of a year.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I know a year sounds like a long time, but I know at least in my deconversion from fundamentalism, I mean, dude, it took a hell of a lot longer than that.
Well, I was never a fundamentalist, and what got me to really, like, half of the job for me, like, not believing in God anymore was simply advanced biology classes.
Well,
like done. That's all it took was like some real. It was really a basic understanding. There were advanced classes, but in the scale of like understanding biological shit, they were real basic.
Okay.
And after I took those, it was just like, okay, yeah, this is not the result of some like. There's just too much excess that you don't need. If you're a god and you have ultimate power, you don't create things. You can create complex things without the such complex basics and foundations. Like the foundations are so they're so complex. There's no reason for them. You could have just made it so much easier if you were a god. That kind of shit just changed my mind. Like. Half of it right there, and then from there it was just studying some basic arguments, like, you know, and I went through a phase of deism for maybe a year or so, where I was like, you know, okay, so there's nothing that's gonna listen to me if I'm like, oh God, please. But maybe there's, you know, and then eventually I was like, there's really no need for that either. And there's certainly, deism is such a stupid position to hold, because even if there is a God, it doesn't matter if you believe in it. So you might as well just say, fuck it, there's no God.
Basically what it boils down to is, let me speak here, and I got a little rant to go on here, is TJ, you're right, but in the opposite side of the spectrum is like if you're a deist and you've never been a theist. So deism, to go from deism to theism, you got a lot of fucking work ahead of you. There's no fucking doubt to believe in something like that. You definitely got a lot of work ahead of you. A lot of work. So that being said, is I've researched deconversions for many years. Reason being is because my wife was in the deconversion process 5 years ago. So I've researched this from head to toe, and there's a great guy that made a great series out there called Evidence with 3s, for E's. Evidence made a great series, and I looked into a series. I watched a series, great series. So deconversions, people say you get an epiphany. You get epiphany, and I'm just not a non-believer anymore. I'm an atheist. No, that doesn't happen as quick as you think. That doesn't happen. Epiphanies don't happen. Okay, we've had guests on the show that actually admit that epiphanies don't happen. So what it boils down to is deconversion process takes. If you're moderate and you just say, hey, you know, I like religion, I go to work, I go to church every week, and it's okay. Yeah, your deconversion process could be, 6 months, 8 months, whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever you research, whatever you are hardcore in your research. You research fucking hardcore. You look at the stock arguments, you look at this, you look at that. And then you might come up to the conclusion, say, yeah, you know, fucking religion is bullshit. You look at the atrocities, so on and so forth. But people, like my wife, that were brainwashed, indoctrinated when they were a fucking kid, 3, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years, they fucking grew up with this shit, man. They don't know any other argument out there. So you know what's going to happen to them? Is they're going to sit in a religion and fucking just accept that God's going to help them. God's going to fucking create the path to happiness. It doesn't fucking happen. Okay? And that's why my wife broke down. She wanted a psych institute. She wanted this, that. And you know what? She came out saying, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not going to church anymore. I'm doing this. And she wasn't deconverted fully. But you know what? She still loved God. But you know what? She didn't go to church. The deconversion of that type of person takes a long time. It takes years. It does. And you know what? What it boils down to is we just got to keep on doing what we're doing. We have to. I mean, like, we have to. So every little video these people see, every little fucking snippet they see, every little article they read, it'll make them question their faith even more. And I think that's what we need to do, is just make them question their faith. Not saying it's the right position. I understand there's people out there of faith that makes them a better person because of faith. That's fine. I'm okay with those types of people. Their lives are fine. They have a successful career. I'm fine with that. That's fucking totally fine with me. But the people that are in hurt or in pain, that their life's just fucking shit, these are the people that just need to come out and just realize that there are people cool like us here that just want to help them.
Yeah, it's like Steve was saying when we were talking about radical Islam. All it takes is getting the information out. I mean, you get the information out to people, get the education out, and things like that, and that's the deciding factor, I think.
Yeah, but I want to expand on this a little bit. Is on this Ryan Bell, because we're getting a little bit off topic here with the deconversions. Is breakable faith? He had a faith that was breakable, and every religious person does. But what I want to talk about here is comments I've seen with the Christians. I love the claim that Christians are claiming that Ryan Bell is a fake, or he was never a true believer, or
I disagree with you.
Listen,
I disagree that he had or that every person has unbreakable faith, because I've seen people that are just too, like Alex Jones, or people that believe him. You're never going to convince.
He does it for the money. He does it for the money. He probably doesn't believe in that shit.
People that follow them and follow people like that, and they just believe every word, that every bit of bullshit that's fed to them. They're gone. They're a lost cause.
All right, you're going to let me finish my point? Can I finish my point? Thank you, sir. But what I'm saying is Christians that claim that Ryan Bell he was never a true believer, or he was not one of the chosen ones. That's what I've been seeing on his post lately, on his, I've been researching him. It's like, he wasn't a chosen one. He was a pastor, but he wasn't a chosen one. You want to talk about massive damage control by Christians. I'm like, this is damage control. It's like saying that he wasn't a chosen one, or he wasn't a true believer. I'm like, talking about save the children from hearing this blasphemy. You know what I mean? It just sickens me. It's just like they can't come to the realization that this guy is living now in reality, that this guy he seems to have a better life now. He just says, you know what? I'm just done with this. There's no evidence or facts to support my position as a believer. He did it for a year, and now he's at the conclusion that I'm a better person now. And I applaud Ryan Bell, as we should be fucking applauding him. Yeah. I'm sure many others here do tonight. So let's applaud fucking Ryan Bell for, if he's a better person now, I'm all for it. If it takes religion to make you a better person and not, push your fucking hatred on everybody, I'm for that too. So, but I applaud him for, doing what he did for a year and come to the conclusion saying, yeah, I'm a better person being an atheist. So I'm cool.
Well, okay, while I applaud him, I'm good with him as long as he doesn't pull a Brett Keane.
Oh, jeez.
In which case, he's totally fucked up.
Oh my god, it's so fucking funny as shit, dude. That's a good one, by the way.
I think his story just is a great example of how if you step back and stop being constantly being reinforcing the faith and being the constant indoctrination that still goes on, the constant reassurance, the constant delusion, no, think about this way, you gotta go with groupthink, don't think for yourself. So if it's a great example if you actually step back and look at the truth behind things, and you actually look things kind of rationally, and you don't attribute it to supernatural bullshit anymore. It's a great example of what happens, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember. Did he stop going to church? I mean, altogether?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For the whole year. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. He didn't have the weekly pep rally.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Or at least if he was a pastor, it was like 3 times.
Jesus.
Yeah, and that's.
Hey, Steve, laugh there. Crack a smile there, buddy. There you go.
Hitchens
going to make Steve smile a little bit here.
That's one of the strengths of, for instance, atheism, is the fact that we don't need weekly pep rallies. We just need reason. We just need a good reason to think a certain way,
I do. I need a weekly dose of cock.
We need
I don't need to go to a meeting to reassure myself that evolution is true and that science and reason are the way to live, or not the way to live. Things to live. Better ways to live by.